April 17, 2023, Toronto Pearson International Airport, one of Canada's busiest, a hub for international shipments and a symbol of secure logistics, or so it seemed. In the dead of night, a heist worth over 20 million Canadian dollars was set into motion. It would be an event that would forever shake the trust in Canada's airport security. Millions in gold, foreign currency, and precious assets vanished in an elaborate, calculated crime. But this wasn't a spur-of-the-moment act. This was the result of a meticulously planned operation that stretched across countries and took months, even years, to execute.
The gold and currency were transported in the hull of an Air Canada flight in
A seemingly ordinary shipping document in the hands of an Air Canada employee would open the door to a heist that no one could have predicted. And as the clock struck 6:32 p.m., the gold bars and foreign currency were loaded onto a getaway truck, making its way into the night. But no one knew what was coming. Sidney Rafuse, a man who had once worked within the system, trusted by the very institutions he would later exploit. His background in logistics, combined with his former work as a senior Air Canada employee, gave him an intimate knowledge of the inner workings of the airport's security measures. But it wasn't just his job that made him dangerous. It was his secret life. Rafuse had a deep understanding of the risks and rewards of international shipments, especially those involving high-value goods like gold and foreign currency. For months, he'd been laying the groundwork, recruiting criminals from all corners. His first target was not a random victim, but an insider, someone who could help him bypass the security protocols of one of the most secure airports in the country. But how did he assemble this team? Rafuse reached out to an old associate, Gerald Freckleton, who had previously been involved in shady dealings, but had always slipped through the cracks of law enforcement. Freckleton wasn't just a loyal accomplice. He was a vital piece of Rafuse's plan. Together, they recruited others with a shared goal, a multi-million-dollar heist that would shake the criminal underworld to its core. They needed someone with the skill set to pull off a high-stakes robbery. That's where Edson Boutillier came in, a petty criminal with a history of small-time thefts and burglaries. Rafuse knew Boutillier wasn't the type to shy away from a challenge. In fact, Boutillier had something that made him the perfect candidate: fear. He had previous charges hanging over him, and he knew that this robbery might be his last chance at escaping the consequences of his criminal past. Rafuse's plan was simple but deadly in its execution. He would use his knowledge of Air Canada's procedures to create a diversion, distracting staff, while his crew moved in and made their escape with millions in valuables. But nothing in Rafuse's plan was random. Every step had been carefully thought through, from the forged documents to the timing of the theft. In the days leading up to the heist, Rafuse and Freckleton ensured that every detail of their plan was perfect. Rafuse had orchestrated everything, from the flight details to the delivery of the forged shipping documents. On April 17th, Flight 881, carrying the gold and currency, would arrive at Toronto Pearson, bringing with it millions of dollars in precious cargo. The forged shipping document. The first key element in their plan was the forged shipping document. A copy of a genuine waybill for a container of seafood was altered and printed on an Air Canada printer within the cargo facility. This simple yet crucial act of deception set everything into motion. The document was made to look as legitimate as possible, designed to bypass the routine checks that would normally safeguard high-value shipments. The truck and the truck driver. The next piece of the puzzle was the getaway vehicle. A truck, seemingly ordinary, was set to make its move. Its driver, Durante King McLean, an experienced criminal with connections to the underground world, would serve as the transport for the stolen goods. His calm demeanor and no-nonsense attitude were key to evading suspicion as he pulled into the Air Canada cargo bay. The plan called for smooth execution, and King McLean, like a well-oiled cog in the machine, executed his part without a hitch. Air Canada's inside help. Freckleton had been in contact with Parmpal Sidhu, an insider at Air Canada who worked in the cargo department. Sidhu, aware of the operation's magnitude, played a crucial role. He ensured that the forged shipping document was handed over to the right person at the right time. With the stamp of approval, the gold and currency were loaded onto the truck. At 6:32 p.m., the getaway truck rolled out of the cargo bay, heading toward Dixon Road, its destination unknown to anyone other than the criminals involved. As the sun set, the theft unfolded in real time. The truck carrying the gold and foreign currency made its way west on Highway 401 and then turned off into a rural area north of Milton. It was a smooth getaway, but the plan wasn't without its hiccups. The truck's movements were delayed slightly. Freckleton and Boutillier, on their way to the bank to meet the next stage of their plan, had crashed their car into ditches along the way. But despite the setback, they still made it to the airport. Meanwhile, the Brinks Canada truck was waiting for the cargo to be picked up. But as hours passed and staff at Air Canada searched desperately, it became clear the shipment was missing. The police were notified at 2:43 a.m. the following morning. A criminal mastermind had pulled off one of the largest gold heists in Canadian history, and authorities were scrambling to figure out how it had happened. Peel Regional Police quickly launched their investigation. What they uncovered shook them to their core. The scope of the operation was staggering. It wasn't just a random act of theft. It was a coordinated attack carried out with military precision. Police soon realized the scale of the crime syndicate involved. This wasn't a small-time heist. This was a criminal network operating both within and outside of Canada. The breakthrough came when investigators traced the movements of the getaway truck. The driver, King McLean, was linked to illegal arms trafficking. Investigators quickly realized that this was part of a much larger, darker operation. The gold, after being stolen, had been smelted down and sold through both domestic and international markets. After days of relentless investigation, the police began making arrests. But the syndicate didn't stop there.